In this video, we're gonna do a whistle-stop tour on why strategy is scary. We're also gonna talk about what strategy actually means and what makes it hard and annoying. Now, when I first thought about strategy, I thought that this was something that only a consulting firm could come on and do for you. It's kind of turned into like some kind of buzzword horror movie and a path only to be trod by the specialists. Mere mortals, stay away. But why has it become like that? It's because the future of your company rides on it. Getting this wrong is the cause of a lot of companies, no matter their shape, their size, their creed, their industry, failing. And here's one I found from Cascade's blog. I will link the article in the description. So the article title is 5 Worst Business Strategies I've Ever Seen, and that caught my attention immediately, so I had to check it out. And I'm gonna give you an example from this. And this example is of Kodak. Everybody knows Kodak, huge camera brand, maybe at one point in time. And they just kind of fell from fame a little bit. So let's see what this has to say. So Kodak created the first digital camera in 1975. Did you know that? Because I didn't know this. I was like, whoa, Kodak did that? All right. But they decided not to go ahead with a commercial launch of the camera because they did not want to cannibalize the sales of their film rolls. Now, this was despite film roll sales dropping like nobody's business. Kodak was even warned that they had 10 years max left in the industry if they didn't make a change, because film and analog, that was kind of going down the drain. And despite seeing the figures and despite seeing the evidence, they ignored it anyway and decided not to launch the digital camera. Well, we all know that didn't work out. So what was the strategic problem here? The problem was that they were thinking about the short term over the long-term success of the business. They were too caught up with how do we hit our short-term KPIs instead of thinking about the longevity of Kodak as a brand and as a company. And as a result, they couldn't compete and ended up failing. And it's not just Kodak. There are loads more in the past, and there are loads more being added every single day of these companies that are known and loved and we think that they're going to be here forever, and they end up failing. And these are just the ones that we know about. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands more that we don't know about that were really good businesses in terms of what their offering was, but they end up failing because of bad strategy. And because of this, we are afraid of strategy. It has huge implications, and it kind of feels a little bit all over the place. Like we don't understand how to create a great strategy. Things keep changing all the time, morphing into new ideas. Things start blending together, and it all becomes this mass of information about strategy and nothing that's really walking us through step by step what we need to do in really simplistic terms. So we just don't touch it at all, or we hire somebody in to take care of that for us. And even then it can be problematic. So obviously we're scared. It's highly complex, and now we've put strategy up there with neurosurgery. Even though we all should be doing it within our organizations, it just feels like something we shouldn't be touching ourselves. What does strategy mean? The Collins Dictionary has this definition. A strategy is a general plan or a set of plans intended to achieve something, especially over a long period. Now, strategy is the foundation of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and most importantly, how we are doing it. It's a source of truth for what we should be investing our resources in and what we should not be investing our resources in. Why is it hard? There's so many ways to design a strategy. There are lots of frameworks out there which are then further tweaked to account for the type of strategy that we're working on. For example, a sales strategy, a marketing strategy, a customer strategy, a culture strategy, a product strategy, a transformation strategy. The list goes on. And then it's further tweaked by industry. the automotive industry, the telecoms industry, healthcare, education. Again, the list goes on. Then we need to agree on what's important and what isn't, which is hard because the people sitting down and doing the strategy, they're all biased in terms of the areas that they themselves are looking after. So you have to convince and get everybody aligned and everybody on board with a clear vision for what we're trying to achieve. So much so that they come out of their boat of protecting their own teams that report to them and protecting their own department and put that aside for the greater good of the organization. That is no easy feat, but that is what needs to happen for a strategy to be developed in the right way in the first place. And then once we get over the hurdle of actually developing the strategy, then we need to communicate it to the wider organization and or stakeholders in a way that they understand and accept and can actually do something with it to achieve the goal that needs to be achieved for the greater good of the organization. The strategy needs to mean something to the teams. It can't be a situation of, oh, there's our shiny new strategy. I don't know what to do with that. You want to avoid giving people a 400-page PowerPoint deck or some kind of shiny, complex infographic that they end up ignoring. The strategy needs to be put into a digestible form that people will constantly refer back to and use as that single source of truth. So those are the things that make strategy complicated. This is what makes it hard. Now let's talk about the things that really annoy me personally when it comes to strategy. The first thing is complexity. It's like when we're developing a strategy, we forget the people who we're talking to, the people who are going to have to be reading this, understanding it, becoming aligned to it, and getting things done, defining the tasks that need to be done to make this strategy become a reality. Because we're giving them the how, we're giving them the what we want to achieve on a wider basis, and the mechanisms in how we're going to get there. These teams still need to take that strategy and come up with a plan that is on a more minute level of detail. So what you're handing them, that navigation map, what your strategy is, that needs to be something that they can actually use to start to create the value that you need for your organization. But we forget to do this in a way that they can understand and absorb and then go ahead and execute upon. Sometimes it's like you're reading a whole other language when you read these strategy documents. It's complicated, unnecessarily complicated. I'm thinking that, who did you get to check this, But I understand why it happens. It happens because it's so complicated to create the strategy in the first place that you completely forget about this second piece, where you have to give equal amounts of attention until you arrive in the place that your strategy has outlined. So you can't drop the ball at all in this situation when you're developing value for an organization. And creating the strategy is only the first part. You need to communicate it. You need to make sure that it's executed upon. So don't make it hard. Don't make it complex. Easy language. Easy wins the day. Make it easy to understand. Make it accessible. Make people want to use it. The next thing that annoys me is the obsession with competitors. I know that when you're building a strategy, you need to do some sort of competitor analysis. You need to analyze the market to see where competition exists within it and ensure that you're operating in a space that is not too red oceany, meaning that there are lots of people operating in that space and you are not able to provide value that is distinct from the other players in that area, in that sea, in that ocean who are providing value. And so you end up competing on price and your business starts being driven into the ground. So yeah, you have to do it, but you can't become obsessed with your competitors to the point where you put so much focus on what they're doing that you're now not even innovating. You're not even providing value that sets you apart from them. You're just doing something a little bit better than what they do. That's not good enough because they're going to go and sit down in their strategy workshops and do the same thing. And then you're constantly going to be battling with each other Read Blue Ocean Strategy if you haven't done already. I'm going to fully admit now, I haven't read all of it. I'm about halfway through, but it's really good. And it really does show you how to carve out a piece of the market that is just for you, or a piece of the market where you can dominate, so that you're not competing with everyone else. And we touched on this third point already, but I have to say it again. Not having an end-to-end plan, some kind of end-to-end management structure that ensures that the strategy is executed upon and that it does the job that we set out for it to do in the first place, that really annoys me. Because I'm like, why? That's like filling up your bucket with milk and kicking it over. Why are you gonna do that? Ensure that you have invested so much time and effort into creating a strategy that is strong. Ensure that you invest the same amount to ensure it is executed upon. Whether you need to hire an external project manager or somebody to see the strategy through, just make sure that you don't kick over your bucket of milk. And then the last one is boring, uninspiring strategies that are torturous to read, like that 400-page PowerPoint I was telling you about. I think in this day and age, there is no excuse to have a boring strategy. Your strategy needs to be digestible. And we understand that there are nuances to strategy. You have your high-level map, and then you need to break it down into sections with more information. But know who you're giving your information to and know what they need to see. If that's what you need to have these different visualizations of your strategy with different levels of information, then have that. But always make sure that you have something that is graphically easy to communicate to the organization when you just need to get them to understand the direction that you're going in, and also provide the deeper level of information for those who need it. That way, people will actually refer back to the strategy. Especially when your organization is growing, you're going to need to ensure that this happens. Okay, now about next steps. To formulate a good strategy, we need to go back to basics. This series is going to give us the fundamentals in creating a good strategy. Then, as I said, we're going to have a workshop and bring it all together in a framework that I use. If you want to be part of this workshop, you're going to have to sign up to my newsletter. So I'll leave the link in the description. My newsletter comes out weekly and it's not launched yet. It's going to launch sometime this month, so pretty soon. And this is where I'm going to give you invites to these workshops that I run live. When it comes to workshops, you can't have too many people on it. So if you want to be part of it, definitely sign up so you can register to the workshops as they come about. And you'll get some pretty cool content from the newsletter as well. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one in the series. Take care.